see you. Looks great.
Good timing.
Representative Anderson.
How are you?
Okay. Well, he was a big help to us on this.
Y'all doing well?
Yeah. So you got a collection here? We're going to talk about property taxes. It's been around for a long time. It's an important issue. It's extremely important. Iowa's property tax system is complicated and it's expensive. Everyone knows that our property taxes are too high and that something needs to be done. But it seems like it's been promised and promised and promised and nothing ever gets done. This is the year that we need to get it done. And I want to commend our representatives here because the House has passed a bold property tax reform that limits all classes of property and would systematically reduce commercial and industrial property taxes over the next 8 years. This is exactly what I think we need to do. What's critically important for the Senate to act, and I'm very hopeful this is the year they will, because if we don't, we will see a $2 billion increase in property taxes over the next 8 years. The House passed bill, which we support, will save the residential property taxpayers $606 million over the next 8 years. Will save industrial and commercial $347 million. It will save agriculture $226 million. Additionally, our plan protects small business who rent their property on a net lease, because as you reduce the tax burden for those commercial property, it's passed on to the tenant that has to pay for their share of the property based on their footprint. It goes over 8 years, 5% reduction a year. We provide additional $50 million each year for replacement to local governments to assure that no local jurisdiction is going to lose revenue on this. And in fact, the reimbursement depends upon the growth, the future growth in commercial property. So if you're West Des Moines and you get a new Alice's Road interchange off the interstate and they build a whole lot of commercial buildings along there, you're not going to need as much reimbursement as some of the other communities that don't have that kind of commercial growth. So that's the way the reimbursement to local governments is going to be allocated. We also have taken care of the concerns that were expressed about tax increment financing. Those districts will not be impacted until the bonds are paid back. And we also treat new and existing the same. So it's a 5% reduction per year on both the new and the existing.
14 years as the Clark County Treasurer, so I really had the opportunity to stand on the other side of the counter and collect those taxes and those commercial property taxes for a year, and I got to hear firsthand how the impact of those burdensome taxes and how they continue to go up and the impact that it had on business. In fact, I would jokingly say to them, look, please, don't shoot the collector. The assessor is down the hall and to the right. And really the encouraging thing is that both Democrats and Republicans agree that this is the time to give Iowans the relief that they've waited so long for. Public is behind this. You know, the governor and I, we've made a commitment every year to travel to all 99 counties. So we've held a lot of town halls across the state of Iowa, and we've had the opportunity to listen to local governments, to listen to business owners, residential owners, and talk about the impact that property taxes have on them. So 60% of Iowans truly believe that this is the year to get something done with commercial property taxes, and 73% of those polled believe that reducing the commercial and industrial property tax will have an impact on economic growth.
Now let me admit a mistake we made in the 70s. I was a young representative on the Ways and Means Committee in the 70s when we passed this change in the way we value farmland from market value to productivity. Now thank God we did. Can you imagine farmland went up 30% last year? We'd see a 30% increase in agriculture land taxes. We'd have a roaring property tax revolt going on in every county in Iowa. But And Lowell Norland was chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and he was from Worth County, I was from Winnebago County, right next door. And he suggested, well, we don't want to shift from ag to residential, that's the biggest class of property, so we'll just tie them together, and that's how we got to the rollback. Well, we should have tied commercial and industrial to it and kept them all in sync. Then at least we wouldn't have this disparity. That's the mistake that was made, and over the last 30 years, study after study, but no action's been taken.
Not an easy one to correct.
And we can't solve it in 1 year. That's why this is an 8-year plan. And it is complicated, but I've studied this a lot, and we worked really hard to perfect our plan. And then what's happened, a lot of communities have used tax increment financing or TIF districts to try to attract commercial business or industrial development because our taxes are so high they're just not competitive. But then that causes a disparity, so you've got some people are getting that benefit and somebody else outside the district isn't.
And then that has an impact on counties and on school districts, and also has an impact on what the state has to contribute to the property tax reduction for the school districts. So it's about, what, 36 million a year?
Yeah, $46
46
million
that the state has to put in for that
to
too.
offset the money that the school districts aren't getting through the school aid formula because of TIFs.
They have a purpose, and they're effective. It's an effective tool.
Right. Well, there's been some abuses of it too.
Yeah.
There's been some communities that have TIFed the whole town. That's not a good thing to do.
And it doesn't sunset. That's the other thing. They don't sunset.
Yeah, some of them don't sunset.
Yeah.
And we put together a 5-year budget plan, and in that 5-year budget plan, we have the money built in, $50 million increase each year to local governments to fund this. Now, the big problem is, you haven't, who knows what happens down the road. We believe that we need to do this kind of long-term planning in perpetuity into the future. And what I intend to do, as long as I'm governor, and the lieutenant governor and I are both a team, and we intend to keep it this way, and that is, we intend to every year update our 5-year plan. And I think with the legislature we have today, especially with the House of Representatives, we feel confident we can fulfill those commitments due with local governments, is identify some of the unfunded mandates that can be eliminated. We think there's a lot of things that can be done there as well. And so we're interested in working with you and with other local officials to eliminate some of those things that drive up your costs that have been mandated by the state that we can eliminate.
And I completely understand that too, because I was on the other end screaming about unfunded mandates as an elected local official. So I've had supervisors that are friends, and I've had fellow colleagues in the Treasurers Association call and say, is that 50 million there? Is that Beckville really there? And we did have an opportunity to sit down last year, and it's the first time I was in the Senate for 2 years that I've ever seen anybody put together not only a biannual budget, but a five-year projected budget, so we can see how new incentives or new initiatives that are passed in this year, what the actual cost is.
Yes, sir.
What's the future of the traffic cameras in Iowa?
What's the future of the traffic cameras? The House passed a bill that would eliminate them, but the Senate's probably not going to.
I don't think they're going to take it out.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take it out. So it looks like they're probably still going to be there. So I think you'll probably continue to see a proliferation of traffic cameras. Yes.